There's a story behind the story, and this is that story. It is the story of the progression of Shatterproof Archery bowstrings. From janky homemade jigs to some of the best systems in the world. From a crawl space to my parents' living room, to a spare bedroom, to a garden shed, and finally to our current shop. I live this day in and day out, and after purchasing Shatterproof Archery, I thought it'd be awesome to tell the story of the transformation of making bowstrings. Ever since Kramer founded Shatterproof Archery, many different team members have made bowstrings, and today, me, Kramer, and one team member are going to be interviewed about the process of making bowstrings. This should be really interesting and share a different perspective of what it's like to make a bowstring. We have always tried to get faster and faster at making bowstrings, and we've done that in two different ways. One is building our skill level, and two is making better systems. This is the story of world records. This is the story of Shatterproof Archery bowstrings.
Welcome to Shatterproof Fitness. My name's Kaz. Today we're going to run up mountains and shoot our bows. Pshing, pshing. Yeah.
Hey, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. I'm here.
Hey, this will only take a couple of minutes.
Go time?
Yes, we're glad you're here.
Anything I need to do?
Be yourself, and we'll have you out of here in no time.
Sounds good.
Do you mind scooting a smidge to the right? Thank you. How long did it take to make your first bowstring?
How long?
The question's a little complicated because I started one day and I didn't finish for 3 or 4 weeks because every time I made it, I twisted it the wrong direction and put on the bow and it untwist. And I did that like 7 or 8 times and could not figure it out.
I remember not being able to get the back twist down. I was being told numbers. I was like, how are you counting these? You're counting twists in a string that doesn't have anything to mark when you've done a full twist. And so it's like, yeah, it's hard to know what an actual twist is. And I didn't get the concept either. I didn't know what was too much or what was too little. And so the concept was, I didn't understand.
So it took about 3 weeks for number 1. It took about 2 hours for number 2.
It's probably at least an hour.
It probably took me like 30, 40 minutes after starting over on the same string like 3 or 4 times.
How many times do you think it took?
Before I finally got it right, it probably took me like doing some different, like 5 or 6 different times.
Did you make a bowstring when you interviewed for Shatterproof?
Yes, well, sort of. I did a Flemish of one.
What got you into making bowstrings in the first place?
I needed a bowstring for my first bow. I think I just probably looked up material and looked up a finished string and saw that I could get the material for similar to the cost of a string, but it could make 10 strings, so I went for it.
Why did you ask Kaz to work for you?
I asked him to make bowstrings because I couldn't keep up with the amount of orders we were getting.
I'm just putting 6 packages here in the mail. Gonna need to get a bigger mailbox, I think.
And he was already a trusted person, so I didn't have to interview anybody. And that allowed me to just focus on training and not character.
What's the worst you have been injured while building a bowstring?
I think the worst I've gotten hurt was when I got sent the jig to serve a bowstring that was much faster.
I got it in the mail. We're going to test how this thing works. The first thing is this piece.
What I didn't understand was why the serving jig companies kept on messing up. So what would happen is the serving would get stuck in the crease of the edge of the jig and would lock up, and I'm spinning this thing super fast. And so I'd lock up, snap the serving, and the thing would go flying off. And out of all the directions it could fly, 360 degrees, it hit me in the face twice. It got me again. It got me again. That needs to not happen anymore, because it seems to be aimed at my face. Seems to be aimed at my face. Both times it broke, hit me in the face. And the third time it broke, it didn't. But I don't know what the odds are of that. This is like, what, 30 degrees out of 360? It's pretty low odds.
How many bowstrings have you made?
Now?
Uh,
I'm probably getting close to around 3,000.
5,000 to 7,000. Somewhere in there.
I've probably at around 20,000.
How fast do you think Kaz's first bowstring was?
How fast I think Kaz's first, like, to make it? And he said that it took him probably like somewhere like an hour and a half.
What was your first impression of Kaz when you trained him to make bowstrings?
He had no rhythm. He was very slow, but he tried hard.
Of Kaz's skill level, it was a little intimidating, I'm not gonna lie. It was just, he did it so quick, and I think that he was so good at it that he had trouble dumbing it down a little bit for somebody like me.
What's the fastest string you made?
I think I broke 5 minutes by a couple seconds. I think it was 54. 4:54, I believe, is my fastest old serving jig.
Almost under 4 minutes on a string.
I think my fastest time is sub 3. I think it's like 2:54.
What's your favorite part of making bowstrings?
Honestly, when you twist it all together, when there's a lot of string colors in it, and you just like get to be like, yeah, this looks cool.
And that's all we needed from you.
Thank you.
What's the story of hiring Kaz, and how did he work remotely?
Yeah, so originally, me and Kaz were living in different states. I was in Arkansas, Kaz was in Oklahoma. So I had Kaz come visit me for, I think, maybe a 48-hour period or so. And I actually built a jig that he could take home with him. Had him build on that jig at my workshop. And then when he went home, we did a lot of communication between video calls and voice messages to communicate and keep quality control.
How many improvements have been made?
Improvements would be countless.
So when I first started making bowstrings, Kramer set me up with this jig. It was like an all-in-one. So it had a stretching jig, and then in the middle was a string winding jig. So I could wind the strings here and then stretch them right over top, and then everything I had I could just carry in all at once. All right, Kramer, one song, one string, setting a new record right here. So I did that for like a month with that setup. And then I started trying to make changes, and so I changed it to putting the string winding jig not underneath the stretching jig, so that I could, so that strings wouldn't be in the way as I was making another string. I remember I started putting spools on dowels instead of holding them in hand, because originally we'd hand wind everything with the spool in our left hand and then winding with our right. And then I started putting the spool on a dowel, so I had two hands to hold the string. And that started making it go faster. The new style of making strings. So let me set you up right here real quick. Try and get you where you can see it. So I've got my pole here, and I'm making a 60-inch Dragonfire. So I'm just going to stick my pole here, and I'm going to place my spool on top of it, just like that. So it just slides, just sliding. Now I've got two hands to work with over here. Check this out. So I'm tying it. Now watch this speed. This is record-breaking speed right here.
Hola.
And then I got my own setup I moved out, got married, moved out, and I had like an office that I was able to make into like a little workshop in Oklahoma. And so Kramer actually came down with, I didn't have any tools or anything, so he came down with like a circular saw, some stuff. I bought some wood, and we built a couple tables, and he helped me cut the wood, and he brought some more tools for building bowstrings. And in that setup, I was able to put dowels in the table so that I wouldn't have to hold the spools as I was doing it. And that actually started the idea of what we're doing today with the spools on dowels versus by our hand. And then, I remember originally everything was done we stretched with a clamp, like a squeeze clamp. And that was the worst because it wasn't strong enough. It was a workout just to clamp it down, and the clamps kept on breaking. And so I was like, Kramer, this isn't going to work. I'm going to buy a boat winch. And so I bought a boat winch and screwed it to the top of the stretching jig. And so then I used the boat winch for years, probably like 3 years, used the boat winch to stretch them.
Even down to like having a knock with a magnet glued to the bottom of it to stick on the table so we can test the exact size of serving. Tiny things like that, to spending a week or half a week building out an entire jig for serving the bowstrings.
In Bartlesville, I started understanding the concept of jigs and stuff because every single string I'd pull out a tape measure. And so I started making marks on the table of like, this is 54 inches, this is 55 inches. So I wouldn't have to pull out a tape measure every single time. And now I don't think we pull out a tape measure at all, ever. It's just all written down. And so we can just reference those spots. I remember when I came to Colorado to work with Kramer in person, he had his setup, and I did not like it. I was like, this is the worst. And I was like, all right, Kaz, you can't start changing things like first week you're here. You have to try the process. You got to try the process. So I think it was about 9 months. Yeah, I think about 9 months of working with that process before I was like, all right, maybe even a year. But it was a while before I was like, all right, I'm going to change things. And we changed the setup to what I call the spaceship setup. And that worked pretty well. That was a pretty good change for especially when the string making was up here. And then everything changed when we moved it back there. I remember originally I was serving a bowstring and I did not have the timing to get the serving to wrap around. Like I just couldn't get it to go boom, 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 boom. Like it wouldn't work for me. It was such a workout. My arms would get tired. And so I'd pay my younger brothers when I was at home to do the hula hooping for me because I couldn't get it to wrap around. So when I was doing it, I'd just hand wind it. Just wrap it around by hand. And so each time it probably took 10 minutes just to serve a bowstring every single time. Then Kramer got me that jig and he sent me a video and I'm like, I need that.
Where's the tape measure at? That's a hand length, so that's at least 10 inches. Hey, that was pretty fast. The video's 2 minutes. I have a couple gaps in there, so I'm gonna figure out how to not push it too hard. But I think this is gonna save time. I'll let you know my tricks I figure out how to do it.
I need that jig because it was so much faster. That's what I used for serving for like 3 years as well.
What's your favorite improvement you've made?
Probably the serving jig. All right, Kaz. Field test. The key is you have to floor it. If you go variable, they'll spin differently, but if you go all the way, we're in the green, I think. 58. So starting now, let's see how long it takes. 58. roll this in, give it a nice little trim. All right. That's not too slow. All right, wasn't even going fast and it took about 35 seconds, 40 seconds. It was a concept in my mind for years, and to be able to source materials and build something I didn't know how to build, but it turned out so good was awesome. Good. Thank you.
If you want to be like everybody else, order a 58-inch D97 green and black string, please.
Did you make bowstrings the same way Kramer did?
Kramer and I made the same product, but as far as methods, we definitely had some different methods. And when it came to serving, when it came to how we would arrange the spools, how we'd hold them, or I'd put them on dowels. Well, Kramer did a top-down hanging thing for them that I never felt like really worked, but it was there. So yeah, we definitely had some different methods for making bowstrings.
Well, that's all the time we have for you today.
All right, get out of here. Okay.
Three, two, one. Time.
Bro.
What? What is it? Seriously? Come on.
Bro, phones don't lie.
That's insane.
That's what I'm saying, bro. How did you do that?
What? Are you serious?
Yeah, bro.
Come on, let's go.
Yo, boss man. Run that by me again.
Hey Kramer, you've got enough on your hands. I'll take care of this.